Yo, welcome back, you guys. It's your boy Walter Doom back for another episode of Let's Talk About Horror, the podcast where we talk about anything and everything related to the genre, as long as it's horror. You know, today we got a full show. I know I've been gone for a while, but I am back. I am going to be back in full effect for you guys. But in today's show, we're going to be talking about a few things. First up, we got a couple of thoughts that I have on Midsummer. Yes, I have seen that movie. I will give you my thoughts about it and give you my take on it. Then we got some news for the week that is pretty much been around for a while, but I'm going to give you guys my take on some of the old and new news that's been coming up for the past couple of weeks. Also, I'm going to talk about Saw in a new segment that I like to call Franchise Talk, where I put franchises up against each other in a way. Yeah, I'm gonna give you guys my take on Saw. I did a full marathon on that, and I'm gonna talk about like how I felt about that. And last but not least, I'm gonna talk about some of the best movies so far in 2019. Well, at least 5 of the best movies that came out in 2019 so far in theaters. So yeah, I'm gonna give you guys my take on it. So right after a little small break, I'm gonna get into the show. So cue the hand claps for me one time. Alright, you guys, so I am back, full effect. Your boy's been gone for a while, but haven't forgotten about y'all. It's been a rough couple of weeks, you know. Been going through some things. I mean, I always talk about going through some things, but yeah, for real, I've been going through some things here and there. But not only have I been going through things, but I've been trying to stay on top of my goals as far as like creating this YouTube blogging thing that I'm doing. And I've been really like staying up on like movies that are on different streaming websites. I mean, I've been running marathons. I've been watching different like classic movies, some that I didn't even think I would ever see in my whole entire life, like The Hills Have Eyes, the classic Vincent Price movie. That has got to be one of the best movies I've seen by far as a classic horror movie. I mean, I really like the drama that's in it. I mean, yeah, some of the special effects and dolls or whatever mannequins that are in this movie, you know, it's kind of wonky and, you know, it's very 1950s, but it's very intriguing to see it. And the thing that was most intriguing about these movies were the story and the acting, which is what intrigued me the most about that movie. So yeah, I watched that movie. I've been watching also the Twilight Zone, old school Twilight Zone on Netflix, since they got it on there. I mean, I'm still waiting on Jordan Peele's Twilight Zone to appear on stream, but who knows when that's gonna appear. I mean, maybe CBS is not gonna try and like mess with any of the streaming networks and what have you. But other than that, I mean, I hope you guys are good out there. I hope my fan is not too much for you guys. I mean, it's hot as hell right now. We are deep in summer right now. We are balls deep, I mean. And one thing that has caught my attention throughout this whole summer is the whole Area 51 nonsense that's going around on Facebook. So apparently there's a Facebook post that's inviting people to storm Area 51. It's happening on September 20th. I'm pretty sure if a lot of you guys listen to me, you guys got your ears peeled out to the internet. And if you don't, I mean, I am your answer to bridge that gap for you. And the question is like, what does this got to do with horror? I mean, how many horror movies deal with aliens? I mean, the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, The Faculty, Alien versus Predators. I mean, come on. We got a lot of alien movies out there that are horror related. And this is pretty much related also. So, yeah. In a post made by this dude named Matty Roberts in Bakersfield, thought it was very funny to create this post about storming Area 51. Now, it got a lot of people's attention, millions of people's attention, saying that they want to go to it. Now, I doubt that millions of people are going because it is Facebook, and I mean, who really got time for that? I mean, most people I know is that are on Facebook are just the older crowd. It's not really a young crowd like that, but definitely it has garnered up a lot of people's attention. And the way they're talking about storming Area 51 is running Naruto style. Now, if you guys aren't up on Naruto or any kind of anime, I mean, I advise you guys to Google that up. But not only has this supposedly a shit posting invitation has garnered up so many people's attention, but it also garnered up the government's attention also, with them actually making a clear threat. I mean, not really a threat, but just warning people that they will take military action against whoever is trying to invade or trying to break into Area 51 just to capture some aliens. Now, with me, I mean, the thing that I like most about this whole thing has been the memes. I mean, the memes have been very hilarious. I mean, I seen one where, like, it's like some weird looking people and they have it like, when I break my alien homie out of Area 51. And it just like have people chilling together like they're going to the club or whatever. Or how I seen one post where like they had an alien dressed up in like a whole attire and what have you, like he's going out or whatever. And the captions read as when my alien homie is waiting for me to pull up. So the memes have definitely been funny. I mean, all I can say is people don't stop with the memes. I really don't want to see that stop. But my main point about this is some of the stuff that get popular all the time. It's crazy to me. It's so crazy to see what kind of gimmick some people will pull that will have them become kind of popular, like the Harambe memes. Like, I'm pretty sure that monkey did not expect to go popular or viral just like that. And it's crazy how like one monkey who got killed, whether he deserved it or not, he became an internet sensation. Like, who'd have thought? Who'd have thought that? It's just like with the battleground rapper Conceited. He never thought that he was going to get popular off of his meme where he did like the little duck face look. Well, it wasn't really a duck face, but it's just a look that he gave. And it's funny because I was looking at a video the other day with him talking about like he became a meme on accident. Like that video of him making that look, it's a real old video, like made in 2009, I believe. So yeah, I mean, he never really wanted to get popular. He never thought that this would become popular or a thing. But I'm pretty sure none of those other people who have been memed before. But it just goes to show you, like, the internet is definitely undefeated. It still is undefeated because right now they got the post about the Loch Ness Monster. And this is not by Maddie Roberts also. It's actually another shit poster that's actually making this invitation. But they have one for the Loch Ness Monster where it says, oh, let's go find the Loch Ness Monster. He can't hide from all of us. Now, I don't know how many people still believe in those urban legends. I mean, it just brings me back to when I was a kid back in the 90s. Like, I always felt like those things existed. I mean, as you get older, I mean, it depends on what type of person you are. I don't know if you still believe in that stuff or not. I stopped really believing those kind of things. Like, I stopped believing in aliens. I stopped believing in the Loch Ness Monster. And I stopped believing in Bigfoot also. Because, I mean, if those things really did exist, I mean, we would have had them by now. Considering that we got better technology. And these things have been around for how long? For so many years. I mean, aliens, yeah, that's understandable. Aliens are kind of hard to capture, what have you. But I feel like with the new inventions of like cell phones and all that, it would be easy for somebody to catch an alien just like, you know, drifting into Earth or what have you. Or somebody, you know, just like they're filming aimlessly at the sky and then all of a sudden they capture a UFO. Now, maybe people are still got those posts around, but they're just not popular like how they used to be in the 90s. Because I remember when I was a kid, And maybe because I used to watch a lot of sci-fi shows. I mean, I don't watch a lot of sci-fi now. I feel like because I was watching a lot of sci-fi shows and conspiracy theory shows, they were always capturing some type of alien ship. You know, it will always be like some kind of found footage or what have you. Now, maybe those things are fake most of the time, but back then when you're a kid and you're very impressionable, I mean, you definitely believe in those things. I mean, think how powerful those things would be right now if those things were happening in the age of memes. I mean, think about that. Think about if back in the 90s, if we had the meme culture like we do now, those things would be popular right now and popping. But that's just a thought. I mean, that's why I'm like asking myself, like, are they real? Because I feel like, because I don't see any found footage, I don't see anything on the internet. I mean, I feel like with Facebook, Instagram, anybody would have caught it and it would have went viral, super viral. But because I have not seen it, and maybe it's the government control, maybe Area 51 is controlling what's being posted to the internet. Maybe these people are getting killed right after these alien ships land. I don't know. But that was just my take on it real quick. I'm not going to harp on this any longer. Let's get into the real stuff right now. Alright, so as you guys know, this show is always spoilers alert, so you guys are being warned. I know I kind of sometimes forget to say that whenever I'm doing my introduction. I'm trying to get better, people, but yeah, for those that are like, bro, you spoiled it for me, there, just be warned, spoilers are in the show. And I always put it in my description, but who the hell reads these days? So I've recently seen the movie Midsummer. I know that's everybody's favorite movie right now. I swear, I keep going into this blog that I'm in. Well, not this blog, but this forum now I'm in on Facebook. And it's always just a shit ton of posts about Midsummer. Like, about how bad it's been. Like, even before I went to see the movie, one of my friends told me, like, not to go see this movie because they thought it was very bad. And the main reason why they thought it was bad was mainly for the storyline, I'm presuming. Yeah, they told me not to watch it at all, that it was a waste of money. Me, I'm a person of, everybody has their opinions. Everybody are entitled to their opinions. But does that make their opinions right? Yes, no, depending on who you're taking your information from. I mean, if you know your friend has very shitty taste in movies, and not saying that my friend did, because I really don't know what type of movies he really liked, but yeah, if your friend that you know has a very shitty taste in movies, I mean, I'm pretty sure you won't take their advice on how bad a movie is. I went along my own way and actually went to go watch the movie. Now, I'll admit, I actually did like Midsummer. Most of it. Not all of it. Most of it. And here's why. What I thought about this movie was that it wasn't much as far as scary. Now, for those that haven't seen this movie before, I don't know why you haven't, but maybe because you're taking advice from your friend. What this movie is about a couple who are in a tumultuous relationship, and to kind of like rekindle their relationship or kind of try and hold their relationship steady, even though it's on shaky grounds, they take a vacation together, or they actually take a trip together in Europe into Sweden. The main character, Christian, who is played by, I can't remember his name. I didn't even write in my notes or anything. See, that's what happens, people, when you don't write detailed note. Yeah, the main character, Christian, he already plans this trip out with his boys, but Danny, who is dealing with death in her family, basically her parents got killed by her sister. Her sister committed suicide. I mean, I'm starting to wonder if Ari Aster has a fixation with like family death. Like, I really do wonder if he has a fixation with that, because this is the second movie that I've seen by him that it deals with like someone dealing with a family death, and I guess borderline witchcraft if you kind of take what happens in Midsummer as witchcraft, because there's a lot of stuff that can be interpreted as witchcraft. The thing about this movie, it's not really scary at all. It's more on the disturbing side of things because of what happens in the movie. Now, the thing about what happens is there's a lot of, I guess, fucked up shit, if I must put it in that way, that happens. I mean, there's people that get killed in front of everyone in broad daylight. There's fucked up customs where like women believe in like magic spells by cutting their pubic hairs and putting it in the guy's food. I guess that's the way of choosing their mating partner, and the mating partner has to be approved by the parents. So that, I guess, is a way of them trying to like get their daughter impregnated. And what's also really fucked up are the punishments for like people who violate any of their customs, you know, and that's like, it's all just like straight up. Now, for the characters, what they were actually in was this whole solstice celebration event that one of the other characters, Pele, I believe his name was, they were actually celebrating his custom. He brought them there. Now, I could tell you the twist of the story of why those characters were there with him, but I feel like I should let you guys see the movie because it was real fucked up. And I mean, if you watch the film and you're paying attention to it, you will eventually get like what's going on and why those characters are there. I mean, they were definitely, those people actually did have some ulterior motives for the guests that were celebrating into their festival, and it wasn't even a welcoming event either. But let's talk about a couple of things that were just good with the film. What I do like about the film, mainly, not just because it was disturbing in every way possible, but also that it had a very good camera shots and angle. Like, all the shots in this movie were very dynamic and they were very good. They kind of built up the tension between characters, especially with the body language with the characters. When you see Danny, who is played by Florence Pugh, and Christian, who are the couple in the movie, they meet this other couple, which I can't remember their names at the moment. And like I said, I didn't even write notes for them. Yeah, you see this other couple that they come across, and the other couple, they look very loving together. And you kind of see that when you come encounter with them. Whereas you see Danny and Christian, who are standing in between those couple, with that couple, you see them standing in between that couple, and you get the idea that their relationship is not going to last during the whole trip. At least it's presuming. Yeah, not only was that good with the shots and the tension, but also like they do a lot of double shots. And I guess if you guys aren't really like film little Roddies or anything like that, double shots basically like just two people in a frame and you fit them in however way possible, whether it's do like mirrors or like split screens or what have you. They do a lot of double shots, and they do a lot of experimental double shots to kind of create that divide and tension with that relationship between Danny and Christian. I mean, throughout this movie, I mean, you just see like they're not together. They're not on the same wavelength. No matter how many times like Christian tries to, coax Danny into feeling better and trying to get over what's going on in her life, or how many times Danny is trying to kind of like force her way into Christian's life and just like getting a hint like maybe he doesn't want to be with me after all. That was one thing that I did like, was definitely the good shots and camera angles. It was very dynamic. I mean, I feel like this one was more dynamic than Hereditary. I don't remember Hereditary having that many good shots in the film. But this film, Midsommar, it definitely had a lot of good shots. What else was really good about this film was definitely the special effects with the vibrant colors, the vibrant plants, and the very bright colors that were just vibrating throughout the scenery. I mean, the scenery was very beautiful. It does give you a bit of anxiety, like as if you're in this satanic cult world, if I may put it. I mean, it is like definitely a cult in a way. So it was definitely like parts of this movie where they had like vibrating colors, like when they got high off of shrooms and they had like the plants growing on the characters' hands, and then they had like the tree kind of vibrating with browns and blues and all that. It was very beautiful. I mean, it was almost like a beautiful shot, almost like in, I want to say Big Fish, because Big Fish had a lot of good vibrant colors and beautiful lighting. Maybe almost like one of those movies that are very fantastical, like not Lemony Snicket, because that was the first thing that came into my mind just now. But I can't think of one, like almost like a Dr. Seuss type book, but not quite Dr. Seuss, because this is a horror movie. It definitely had a lot of good vibrant colors radiating throughout the film. It definitely made the film look very beautiful. I mean, if you ever look at the poster, it definitely is what it's promoting. If you're looking at it, and like I said, the main character Danny, I mean, you see her dressed up into like the Swedish garb that they have in the film, and she is pretty much crying in tears and all that. And this was what we're kind of like segueing into things I did not like. Now, one thing I did not like was definitely Danny. I didn't write this in my notes because I totally forgot to put that in my notes. But I did not like her character at all. I mean, I don't know if it was me that was just sitting there like, why is this girl crying so much? I mean, maybe because I personally could relate to it, and maybe I'm cold-hearted in some type of way possible. But I dealt with a girl, and this is very recent, who did nothing but that, was crying over everything all the time. Now, I get it. I'm not against people who cry. I mean, I'm not a crier myself. I don't like to cry. I maybe do more whining. I mean, that's what I've been told sometimes. Or complaining. Hey, why not self-deprecate? But one thing I can't stand are people who cry all the time over spilt milk, or even just like they cry over things that are just in their head all the time. And most of the time when this girl was crying, that I'm talking about, that I was dealing with, was over things that were just in her head most of the time. It's like I could tell her one thing, and she just not possibly, but she definitely flipped it inside out into something that she understands and will only understand. And no matter how much I try and like make her understand my viewpoint, or trying to like let her know my viewpoint, she doesn't like take that as a consideration or anything. So she just ends up crying over it. Yeah, that was a toss it to my personal life. Yeah, with this character Danny, I mean, and I understand, like, she's dealing with like her sister and her parents who died in the film, and they do kind of play a prominent role in some of her decision making, which is all bad, by the way, throughout the whole film. I mean, if you look at it, I mean, it's just one messed up decision after another. And it didn't really help her relationship with Christian, who I felt like was trying to hold the relationship together as much as possible, but at the end of the day, he just felt like he couldn't keep it together with her. She needed to be by herself and kind of get through her thing by herself. She needed some self-reflection and self-help, basically. And I mean, this is kind of like vicariously speaking about, or like subtly speaking about my own stuff, but that's just kind of like how I felt about the character Danny in a way, when I was kind of like looking at that character, and there was no way I felt sorry about anything that was happening to her at all. Now, you know who I felt sorry for? I felt sorry for Christian. I really felt sorry for Christian because he dealt with a lot of fucked up shit throughout that whole film. Seriously, I mean, he had Pele's sister clipping her pubes, trying to cast that love spell on him. He had people continuously drugging him when he didn't want to get drugged. And not only that, he was kind of like being cheated on by both Danny and his friend Pele, who brought him out there. And it's crazy because you see throughout the film that the friend, he keeps making his move on Danny, and he tries his best to make Christian look bad. That is some fucked up shit. I really felt for Christian in this movie. I mean, if you guys didn't feel anything for Christian, I don't know. Maybe because you have been in Danny's shoes before, and maybe you are on this whole thing about, well, he get what he deserves. But man, I was looking at Christian and I was like, bro, I feel for you right now. And then how everything came about at the end was even more fucked up. And I was just like, damn, bro. How could I feel sorry for this chick? This chick is fucked up in her own head. Because she's an emotional head case. I mean, definitely, she was not the best person to make decision because she was an emotional head case. That was probably like all that I hated about that movie, was definitely Danny and the ending. Because that was like the real part where I was just like, this cannot be the end. And yeah, it was definitely the end. So if you guys are willing to watch a real fucked up ending to a movie, I wasn't prepared for it. I wish somebody had told me like the ending is very fucked up. The only thing I was told, like, it was very slow paced. And that's another thing. It is very slow paced. It's just like Hereditary. There's a lot of build up. But sometimes the build up leads to nowhere, which is sometimes I really did get kind of disappointed about, because I was like, okay, we're building up all the story, but this story is leading to nowhere big, or it's not a big reward that we're receiving at the end. It just feels like we're just building up a lot of shit happening and seeing a lot of fucked up shit, and that's about it. But I mean, if I had to grade this movie, I guess I would have to grade this movie a 3.5. I'll give it a 3.5. Maybe 4. Because, I mean, it did make me feel some type of way. And like I said, the camera angles are very good. Probably one of the best movies I've seen of 2019. Not the absolute best, but one of the best so far. But yeah, later on in the show, we're going to talk about other movies that are some of the best 2019 films. But right now, we are going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about my experience with the Saw Marathon.
Red rum. Red rum. Red rum. Red rum. Red rum. Red rum.
Alright, and we're back, people. So, just recently, well, maybe not recently, maybe a couple of weeks ago, on my little hiatuses, I did a marathon watching Saw, and it gave me an idea of what I wanted to do in the beginning of this show now, is maybe talk about franchises a little bit more, and where they all kind of come, well, not come, but rank maybe. I don't know. I'm thinking about ranking franchises. I don't know. I'll think about that later. But mainly, I'm going to be talking about franchises and kind of pit them together. So it's going to be like one franchise I talk about, and then the next week, that same franchise I was talking about this week is going to be pit against another franchise the next week. So this week, I'm going to talk about Saw, and I'm making that one against... Well, I'm pitting that one against Child's Play. Just because we all love Chucky, and Chucky seems to not go away from this podcast. Is that right, Chucky?
What are you, fucking nuts?
Alright, yeah, you're such a jokester. But, right now, let's talk about Saw. So, let's basically go about what do I feel about this movie, well, about this franchise. And if you guys know me, I mean, I have liked this franchise for a very long time. I always been saying, like, this is one of my favorite franchises of all time. Hands down. I mean, the only thing that comes close to this franchise in being better than it is Scream. It's still an intriguing franchise now that I'm doing this, kind of like with YouTube and everything. And just podcasting about it and what have you. And I still like the franchise. I nowadays don't really look at it with rose-colored lenses like I used to, or just like give it that whole appeal of like superiority, or like it's not, or like it's like the greatest thing ever, because I could definitely see the absurdity in parts of the series when it gets to that. Things that I do like about the series is definitely the intriguing story. Now, the story about John Kramer and his evolution of trying to get people to see their life in a better direction than what it usually is. Very interesting, very ironic in a way, because at the same time he's forcing people to kind of hurt themselves to kind of see the better in themselves. The traps are always amazing. I always liked how Saw tends to top themselves in each movie with the traps. They don't really repeat any type of kills or anything like that, or do the same thing 3 or 4 times in the movie. Knock knock, Jason. But yeah, they always seem to try and do new and experimental traps. The one trap that was very interesting was the one with the carousel of employees in Saw 6, when the one guy had to choose who gets to live and who gets to die, and he had to make a sacrifice of using his fingers, or his hands I believe, to force the gun not to shoot the employee. And in the end, like, 2 girls ended up surviving, and one dude ended up dying and called his boss pussy whipped after that. That one was always intriguing. Another one that was like really intriguing was the fucked up trap in Saw 3 with a kid who killed the guy's son. He was in like this whole little twisted contraption where his head was getting twisted around, his arms was getting twisted, his legs were getting twisted also. I mean, it was a lot of twisting happening around. I know all you guys are probably like, God, when is he gonna stop saying twisted so much? Yeah, that was definitely another fucked up trap that was in that movie. That was definitely very memorable. Of course, Saw 1, that's my favorite one of all time. But if I didn't have to choose that one, I'll probably go with like Saw 3 and Saw 4 as like some of my favorite parts of the series, just because of what happens in those films. Saw 3, you kind of get like the whole idea of there is that plan, that whole little plan with the dad and his son, and he's trying to gain whether like he wants redemption by seeking revenge or just like letting go of the past. I mean, it was definitely kind of an emotional type movie. I felt like it was definitely very emotional from it, because it taught you a lesson about like letting things go and not seeking revenge. There's a couple of people I know I felt like I need to seek revenge on. Hell, there's probably people right now that I'm like, I wish I could seek revenge on just because of how wrong they did me. But if anything, Saw 3 has taught us like revenge isn't the answer, because Jeff, who seeked revenge in that movie, he ended up losing his wife in the process because he just couldn't let go of his son's death. In Saw 4, you kind of get to see the eyes of Jigsaw and kind of like all the madness that he was going through, and kind of like all the madness that he kind of like views people and see how like sick they are, and you kind of get an understanding of what he tries to do as a villain. I'll have to say, like, Saw 4, it wasn't as like emotional as Saw 3, but you do get a very good insight of who John Kramer was and how his mind worked. I could tell you where the absurdity begins with the series is like maybe around Saw 7. And the only reason why I feel like Saw 7 was definitely absurd, but it was mainly because of like the whole congested story. They just had way too much going on in that movie. Now, I get the main storyline was about Jill trying to avoid Hoffman as much as possible, but they threw in this new character who supposedly was on the force with Hoffman, and Hoffman saved this dude's life. And by that time, I mean, Hoffman was already kind of like in the Jigsaw game, and he was deep in it. I mean, I get like, I could say like maybe around Saw 4, it does get kind of messy because, you know, we already take the idea that Amanda was like the only successor to John, but John had other ideas by getting Detective Hoffman as like the other successor to him. Now, we learn in Saw 7 that John was like, if anything were to happen to Jill, just know Hoffman was the guy that did it. And then we get Dr. Gordon from Saw 1. And I get it. It kind of bridges that whole gap and scenario of like all those traps that we see in the beginning, and we get an idea about what happened to Dr. Gordon afterwards, because we stop hearing from Dr. Gordon after like Saw 1. We see that he has been incorporated into the whole Jigsaw world and realm and all that, and he's been the guy that's been kidnapping people and forcing them to learn their lessons as well. I just felt like with that, it felt very random. Also, when you take into consideration that most of those victims, it didn't make sense why they were there. I mean, yeah, we see in the beginning, like, you know, them doing what they can to survive. When you really think about it and you think now, like, Dr. Gordon is the one that's helping him this whole time, what was the point? Like, what purpose did these people really serve? Because they didn't serve no greater purpose. Now, with, I'm trying to remember his name, because it was Donnie Wahlberg's character. Fuck, I can't remember his name right now. Oh, man. But in Saw 2, when he was taken as a prisoner in Saw 2 from Amanda, we see in Saw 4, oh my god, the name is actually coming to me as I took a pause. Oh, Matthews, Detective Matthews, there we go. Make this be a lesson to you kids. Always write detailed notes. But anyway, yeah, Detective Matthews, you know, when we saw that he was taken prisoner in Saw 2, and we saw that he was still a prisoner in Saw 4, I mean, it really did bring like this whole bigger narrative to the story. And then seeing that Hoffman was the one that survived in the movie, and Strom was kind of like on his case, and his partner was on the case also, it really kind of brought this whole bigger idea of like a big story in a big world. Now, I get why Saw 7 was the way it was, is because Saw initially was supposed to go to 10 movies. I believe that was promised like maybe after like Saw 4, Saw 5. The series was going to go into 10 movies, so it was like a few more installments that were going to come up after that. But then the news changed like maybe around Saw 6. I guess because they weren't seeing revenue like that returned to them, even though they were one of the highest grossing horror movies in theaters at that time. I think a lot of people just began to get tired of Saw. I mean, I myself didn't get tired of Saw because I always liked the twist at the end. I always like knowing how did all of this come about? How did everything get put into, realm or this world and what have you? And they always seem to kind of develop the story about John a little bit more. And it's funny because when you think about it, they've been developing the John Kramer story and the backstory behind why he went on this whole psychotic killing spree since Saw 2. And actually not really Saw 2, but Saw 3, I should say. Because you get a flashback of Jill momentarily when John faints on the operating table. So you could tell they've been kind of working on that story, his backstory, for a while, and that these stories, the backstory behind John wasn't like just some thrown together story, but it was actually well put together, and that they were really trying to make that connection, or trying to at least have the audience make a connection and sympathize with John's acts. But back to Saw 3, I'm not Saw 3, but Saw 7. Saw 7 had to be the biggest piece of shit in the Saw series next to Jigsaw. I gotta really say, that movie was terrible. The Jigsaw movie was terrible also. I didn't understand how in that movie there was still other people that John was kind of recruiting. You know what I mean? And the game that was being played, that was a game that was played like a long time ago. So in a way, it was kind of like a prequel, if I must say. But then again, I feel like they still talked about Dr. Gordon in some type of way possible, and he was still brought up and still part of the real universe. Not the real universe, but the Saw 2 to Saw 6, 7 universe, I should say. So yeah, I mean, it didn't make any sense to me because I'm just like, okay, John is supposed to be this crippled cancer victim, and yet he's getting along and moving more faster than like Donald Trump did during election months and all that. Throughout his election campaign. I'm just like, man, like this cancer patient got some energy. Yeah, I just thought in Jigsaw that was just too much like backstory that they were trying to make and trying to force upon us. Saw 7, like I said, it was too many victims that didn't really add up to anything. I didn't like the fact that there were so many killers, and I mean like killers like, Jill was one of the killers, Dr. Gordon is one of the killers, and Hoffman is one of the killers. And even then, I mean, I guess John had like a whole little crew of Jigsaw followers. I mean, Dr. Gordon had like a bunch of people that were with him. It clearly looked like he had like a little gang of Jigsaw killers. I don't know, it didn't make any sense to me. I didn't really like it, including the traps. I mean, the traps in the beginning of the movie, I usually like those movies. I guess the one with the cheating girlfriend who was playing like the two dudes on the side. Yeah, that was probably like the best one. But again, I mean, this is Saw 3D. I mean, it's supposed to be more 3D, and I guess the function of it was supposed to be like you have to watch this movie in 3D no matter how good the story is, because the story was shit. The thing I can say about this series though, going against Child's Play, and I'm sorry Chucky, I have to say like Saw does a little bit better with a consistent storyline in many ways. And for you guys that have watched all the Child's Play Chucky movies, you guys know what I'm talking about. For those that don't, I mean, you guys are in for a whirlspin of like, what the fucks. Of course, the first 3 are very consistent and what have you, and they stay on line of what they're trying to do. Chucky's trying to take his soul, put it in a boy, and start walking the earth as a human again because he doesn't want to walk into a doll's body. Now, as much as I like Bride of Chucky, I gotta say, like, it really does kind of like go against what Chucky was trying to do. As much as I like the Bride of Chucky, it kind of goes against what Chucky's been trying to do in the first 3 movies. And I guess in a way, I mean, they are trying to rebrand that movie by that time as like Scream, because Scream was the top thing hitting at the time. I get it. I mean, they wanted to make Chucky kind of meta. I mean, I get it. Let's make Chucky meta. But at the same time, it worked in the first movie. Well, first Chucky movie. But it did not work for the Seed at all. It was definitely a very comical movie. And it just felt like in the Bride and Seed of Chucky, I mean, I guess now he's forgotten all about Andy Barclay, and now he's just like trying to put his soul into anybody random. I don't get why the goal changed, but I mean, I guess by then he realized, hey, Andy's now a man. It's pointless to chase this kid, because each time I chase this kid, I end up dying. What also sucked about this movie and its whole timeline and story is definitely when they had the Heart of Dabala, which was never really mentioned in any of the first 3 Child's Play movies at all. But all of a sudden now we got this item that is supposed to be the reason why Chucky is able to transfer his soul from one thing to another. Now I really do felt like this was definitely very random. I mean, I guess do you, Chucky? Definitely do you. But the thing that also really turned me off about the whole, well, not really turned me off, but what makes Saw a little bit better than Child's Play is that Saw never really deviates into comedy, although Chucky has a little bit more charisma, and I do like the charisma on Chucky. I mean, we do get a little bit of more of a charismatic Chucky in Bride of Chucky. It's just Saw was very adamant about its tone and about its gore. You know, it never deviated into trying to be funny. It never deviated into anything it wasn't. Except for Saw 7, which was a piece of shit. But even then, with Saw 7 being a piece of shit, it never really deviated into trying to be funny or comical in any type of way possible. Yeah, there might be a few sly jokes here and there, which I can't even think of a joke in Saw right now. I mean, if somebody could think of one, write it in the comments section. It never really deviates into something that it wasn't, or it was never meant to be. Whereas Chucky, and I get they have a little bit more free flow with Chucky compared to Saw, but definitely the comedy aspect kind of killed it. And well, it killed it for me, and it really did make me kind of weary about watching Curse of Chucky and Code of Chucky, because I thought they were going to be the same movies from Bride and Seed, but they weren't. With all that being mentioned, I mean, we know that there's going to be a reboot coming soon for Saw. Right now, it's tentatively titled Organ Donor, and we know Chris Rock is behind it. We got the same director from Saw 2 to 4 that's directing this film, but sad part, we got the same writers from Jigsaw taking on this project. Even though Chris Rock is going to be in charge of the screenwriting, or should I say the story, I'm a little weary knowing that the writers behind Jigsaw are going to take the helm for this reboot. I'm hoping nothing but the best for this reboot. The Chucky reboot definitely was a good remake. It wasn't a reboot, but it was a remake. And the Curse and Cult of Chucky, those were reboots that obviously were very good. But Saw, I mean, that comes out in 2020, so we'll see what happens. I'm trying to keep expectations not too high, because again, I mean, this is one of my favorite franchises, and all I want is nothing but the best for it. But at the same time, I have to take in consideration that they did disappoint me with Jigsaw. That was a piece of shit. Yeah, other than that, I mean, hopefully we'll see when this movie comes out. It's definitely something to talk about and rave about. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and take a break for a moment. When we come back, we're gonna talk about some news that's been out for a while that I'm gonna give you guys my take on. So I'll be right back. Oh wait, you're not supposed to say that.
What's your favorite scary movie?
And we are back. I guess Ghostface didn't catch me or anything. But let's talk about some news that's been out for a while. So the 3 from Hell trailer came out, and that's like finally some news that we all want to hear about. As you guys know, I've been interested in this film for a bit because it comes from Rob Zombie and it's from the Devil's Rejects, or the Firefly family, as they like to call it right now, universe. So in this movie, this is supposed to be the events that are happening after the fight, well, the gunfight in Devil's Rejects. I recently have bought Devil's Rejects just because I got tired of waiting. Yes, you guys. So, and that's funny. Let me talk about like what was in my bag. So, after I watched Midsummer, I went to Amoeba, and if you guys know what Amoeba is, I mean, it's a big CD, vinyl, record, and movie company. I mean, they sell all types of movies, music, t-shirts. I mean, I didn't know they sold t-shirts until I went in there one day. Well, that day, actually. And I guess they've been trying to revamp the whole store itself, because I'm hearing like they're going to move that Amoeba, which is very historic, by the way, for Hollywood, down to another location. And whatever location that they're moving it to, they're also going to have a dispensary for it. So it's going to be movies, music, t-shirts, and weed. What more do you need? What more do you need, I should say. But anyway, I'm excited for this film because I'm trying to find out how they actually survived this whole gunfight ordeal in Devil's Rejects. I mean, watching Devil's Rejects, it got you feeling some type of conflicted ways. I mean, because at first you're sitting there looking at the Firefly family, which is Dr. Death, Baby, and Captain Spaulding. And you're just thinking like, okay, they're terrorizing this family in every which way possible. Like, when does this fucking end? Or how does this fucking end? Then, I mean, after knowing like there is a gunfight that happens at the end, I'm sitting here wondering like, how the hell did they get through this? Like, what happens after they get into this gunfight with the cops? I mean, how does the family like, you know, jump in this? But anyway, too many things going on, I'm trying to say right now. But anyway, it goes from the Firefly family get torturing people to them getting tortured, and then you just sit there and just be like, damn, how is this possible? Like, how are they gonna get out of this? Like, and I'm just sitting here wondering, like, knowing the ending to this movie, how do they get into this gunfight? How do they escape where they're at to get into this gunfight? So, not really spoiling the ending because I'm not going to talk about Devil's Rejects. Like, that's not about that. But going into 3 from Hell, going into the trailer, I mean, you get to see a lot of diabolic things happening. I mean, you see like there's protesters that are actually in support for the family. You see those that are opposed them because they're, of course, what, killers. I mean, they're almost like the Charles Manson type families. But it just makes me wonder, like, because there's a lot of big stars in this movie, and probably the only one that I'm really like excited about seeing in this film is probably Richard Brake. And the only reason why I'm interested in seeing what he does in this movie is because of the movie 31, where his character was Doomhead, and his character was a fucked up character. Like, this dude was killing each and every way possible, and it was very torturous what this guy was doing. So to see him in 3 from Hell and kind of seeing that little spot of him in the movie, and he's just kind of giving that little smiley face while Bill Moseley is kind of stabbing up whatever victim that he's stabbing up at, you know, it makes me wonder, what type of role is he playing in this film with the Firefly family? Is he like an uncle? Is he like well, he can't be a grandfather because that'll make him older than Captain Spaulding, and I'm pretty sure Sid Haig is a lot older than Richard Brake. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure he's like some kind of uncle, brother, whatever character he is in this film. It just makes me interested in seeing what happens in this film even more. I know the music is going to be great because in Devil's Rejects, the music unapologetically is what kept the movie going and make it interesting. I mean, Rob Zombie tends to find music that is very psychedelic and very interesting always in his films. I mean, he did the same thing in 31. 31 had a very interesting soundtrack, and it also, I can't remember if House of a Thousand Corpses had an interesting soundtrack, but I'm sure House of a Thousand Corpses had an interesting soundtrack also. So yeah, I mean, like I said, this movie should be very good. It should be shot very well. Like I said, the music should be great. Should be interesting. I can't wait till that comes out. It comes out, I believe, sometime next year or sometime later on. No, actually, it's supposed to come out later on in the month, I believe. Like in the fall. Yeah, so I can't wait till that comes out. I'm definitely going to catch that in theaters, as well as a list of other movies that I wish I could talk about at this moment, but that will be for another podcast for you guys. Look at that cliffhanger. Alright, so another thing, let's talk about what else is in the news is we all know the Into the Dark series have been coming out with different sections or theme type stories each month. I know I owe you guys like about 2 months worth of like rankings. I can tell you right now, a couple of movies that the 2 last movies that were out, They Come Knocking and Culture Shock, They Come Knocking, shit. Culture Shock, good. Definitely good. I mean, Culture Shock was surprisingly good compared to They Come Knocking, where They Come Knocking could have took more of a horror elemental feel and made it more dark than what the hell that they presented. I did not like They Come Knocking at all. I thought it was just really terrible. The storyline was definitely trash. I just thought like the whole storyline of these random ass ghosts that are just invading this random place just because the kids want to see their mom, or they can't let go of the memories of their mom. They're calling on these ghosts that are just trying to kill them. I mean, random to me. There's a new story coming out for the month of August. It's called School Spirit, so it's supposed to be kind of like the back to school type story. And what it's dealing with is like these teenagers who are in detention for Saturday. They sit in detention, smoke weed, and then all of a sudden now they're being haunted by a killer. Yeah. So from the trailer, what it looks like is that they're trying to go into like a teen slasher film. Well, a teen slasher feel, I should say. I said film. That's why I always kind of like repeat you guys to kind of like make it clear, because it doesn't sound like I'm saying what I'm trying to say. But it looks like they're trying to go into a slasher feel for this movie. And I mean, it almost kind of reminds me of this other movie that I seen on Netflix called Most Likely to Die, which is also a slasher, but it's not really like a teen slasher, but it's just like a slasher. So it seems like this movie is almost trying to be like that movie, where possibly like one of the friends, which is my predictions, a group like 1 or 2 friends are the killer, and the reason why they're killing everyone is because of someone getting scorned in freshman year or sophomore year or some shit like that. That's all I really could say for this film. I can't wait to see what it presents. It's supposed to come out August 2nd. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure by the time this podcast comes out, this film should already be out for those that are listening to it, or it should be coming out, or is already out. But either way, moving on. And like I said, we just can't stop talking about Chucky. So there's a fan film that's supposed to drop pretty soon called Charles, and I guess it's been like kind of rumored for the longest. I've only heard about it like sometime earlier this month, but it's supposed to be a fan film by Tony Biz and his project. And what we're getting from this film, from the trailer, they kind of bring the scary back to Chucky, which is really good. And I liked some of the designs that I seen from this company. But they do a lot of good designing as far as like making Chucky look like Chucky, because he does look like Chucky. He doesn't look like Mark Hamill Chucky. He looks like Brad Dourif Chucky. They get a good voice actor named Shane Morris, who actually sounds like a really good Brad Dourif type Chucky, maybe like a younger version of him. And if you guys really want to hear what this sounds like, I mean, I advise you guys to go and check out YouTube that shit. Maybe I'll leave a link in the description so you guys could check it out. But I gotta say, it's really interesting and it's really good. They have an Indiegogo right now because they're trying to get the last of their funding together so they could get more animatronics and more like location shots and production costs and all that. I wouldn't be against actually funding their contribution to what they're trying to do, because this looked like a film that everybody should go and see. I mean, it seems like lately fan films are the way to go these days. I mean, we had a fan film for Jason, and those movies were really good. It wasn't bad at all. So I'm not really against the fan film route right now, especially for franchises that are kind of in limbo, like Jason, who is in limbo, but not because of bad movies, but mainly because of legal issues. Chucky is kind of like he's going on limbo also because of, well, bad production and bad films and all that. I mean, even though I don't think like his films were bad to say the least, but they haven't been gaining traction or notoriety as they should, or how the film companies want these films to kind of like gain notoriety. But I think what killed Chucky most was the last two Chucky movies, which was Curse and Cult. They went straight to video and they weren't even in theaters, so a lot of people didn't even know about these films existing unless you had like Netflix, which is the only way I knew, which was the only way I watched those films. I knew they existed, but I just didn't watch them because I thought they were terrible. Well, I thought they were going to be terrible. But yeah, there's an Indiegogo funding for this, and after they're done filming these movies, you get like a little nice box for your contribution. And they got like different tiers. I mean, if anybody is like familiar with Indiegogo, you know they got like different tiers for people that are funding for these movies. They're not gonna leave like the contributors empty-handed or any type of way possible. They always seem to give them like a good little like loot box of items that they could kind of like store in their home and use as collectibles. But definitely I'm looking forward to that. Charles movie was also good about the fan films is that there was another fan film that was out, and it's a short one too. It's called Tiffany and Chucky, and I watched that one recently, and I watched it a couple of times. It's okay. It's supposed to be a story about how Chucky met Tiffany, and they supposed to, I guess, meet in Los Angeles. The story is starring like Linnell Gibson, who plays like a decent Tiffany. I mean, she does play like a role that kind of reminds you of Jennifer Tilly a bit because of how she kind of uses her voice. She kind of has that Jennifer Tilly voice, and we all know what Jennifer Tilly's voice sounds like. I mean, it's definitely, it goes without like describing. She definitely played her very well, like just how Jennifer Tilly would have played Tiffany. Kevin Caliber, he was like an okay Chucky, but it just seemed like he was a Chucky that was not really sure of himself on why he was there or why he was even talking to her. It just seemed like he was one of those characters that were there. Not to mention that Chucky wasn't even like deranged looking, because we all know Chucky is kind of deranged. But this Chucky, he wasn't even like really deranged at all. I mean, they trying to say like he's a hunkier Chucky, and this is how Tiffany saw Chucky when she met him. I'm not really buying into that shit too much, but I just thought it was like an okay role for him. I just felt like they probably could have gotten someone a little bit more grittier, kind of dirty looking, maybe kind of like murderous looking, kind of like Chucky, you know? Something that kind of makes you feel like, damn, I don't want to fuck with this guy. This guy is fucking crazy. Yeah, definitely check Tiffany and Chucky out. That's also on YouTube. And you can also check out Charles, hopefully, on YouTube. The thing about Charles that they were trying to say about that movie is that it's supposed to be a mixture of Conjuring, Annabelle, The Hills Have Eyes, and the Chucky movies. Now, the funny thing to me, which I did kind of notice, I did notice a ghost-looking Chucky doll in the back when they were talking about the dolls and the animatronics. And it just made me wonder, like, okay, how much of Annabelle and The Conjuring are we getting in this Chucky film? Hopefully, if they keep it like how Chucky always been, and you just get a foul-mouthed Chucky doll who kills people, I'm fine with that. But I don't want to see Chucky play some mind games like he's fucking Annabelle and shit. Because the Annabelle movies suck, bro. They suck. Now, would I fuck with the real doll? Hell nah, man. Hell nah. I would not fuck with that doll at all. I can't wait to see what this Charles movie look like. Hopefully, it's not really what I think it might be. If it is, I think it's going to be trash. I'm just saying. Don't quote me. Don't at me. But, yeah. Anyway, that is all we have for the news today. Man, this seemed like a very long show, don't it? I'm kidding, you guys. I know you guys like hearing my voice, but we're gonna go once again, take another break. When we come back, I'm gonna talk about the best movies of 2019 so far. After that, we got the outro, and that will be the show. So be right back, you guys. Oh shit, I said it again.
Don't fuck with the Chuck.
Alright, so as you guys know, we are at the midway point of the year, and we had a lot of decent movies come out in 2019 that are horror. Some were good, some were not so good. I'm going to talk about some of the best movies that I've watched so far in 2019. And this is in no particular order at all. This is just based on movies that I saw that were really good. So first movie I want to talk about that was really good to me was Us. Us maybe is not everybody's cup of tea at the moment. Or somebody's eyeball in a punch bowl, I should say. But Us was definitely a really good movie to me if you looked at everything on a technical level with the film. I mean, beautiful shots everywhere. It had a very good underlying story, which I'm pretty sure that's what threw everybody, I guess, into a world of confusion, because each time I talk to somebody about like what they didn't like about this movie, they tell me like this movie was just too much thinking involved. You know, it had too much like messages in it that they just did not want to digest. They just wanted to sit and watch the movie. And I get it. I mean, I like to sit and watch the movies also, but I also want to get something out of the movie too. And I know with Jordan Peele's movies, I feel like I'm going to get something out of it more than just flat out entertainment. One thing I do like about the film is, like I mentioned before in earlier podcasts when I was talking about Us, is definitely the horror homages that it pays, you know, with the Chud videos, Thriller t-shirts, and just like all different types of horror paraphernalia that you see kind of sprinkled throughout the movie, and kind of like different references, especially in the killings, that it makes in the movie. Also, that I mentioned before, I do like the underlying story, which does deal with the world of like poor people and rich people, rich and poor, you know, and how like rich people, and this is what I get, and not to say like my take is 100% accurate, and I do mention this before, like, you know, this is just my opinion about it, and this is how I kind of analyzed it. If you notice, like with the main family, with Adelaide and everyone, even though they're rich, they have skills, but they're not great at their skills. But because they're rich, they could still manage to get by in life just because they have money. Now with Red and her family, they have those same skills that the rich family have of Adelaide's, but they mastered it. Where like the one girl, she runs track, but she wants to quit track, but her doppelganger is hella fucking fast and can run her ass off like nothing. The son, he likes magic, but he's not really good at doing it. But his doppelganger, he's really good at magic with the flame and everything. You get in this film the sense of like basic conflict of like how rich and poor kind of collide in the world a bit. You know, where the poor, even though talented and underappreciated, you know, we're still sent under the bottom no matter how good we are. And some of us somehow tend to make it, which we find out in the not so shocking twist of the story that Adelaide was actually a doppelganger who escaped, and Red is actually the real Adelaide who was kidnapped and brought into the underworld. It's definitely a really good movie. I really liked it. Like I said, it might be a little too heady for some people, but it's definitely a movie worth watching. I really liked it. It's out on DVD right now, so if you guys want to add that to your collection, I know I am. Definitely add it. Another movie that was good was Gaspar Noé's Climax. I know each time when I say that, I always feel like I'm saying something dirty, but the movie is actually called Climax. But if any of you guys know anything about Gaspar Noé's movies, I mean, even though he's not technically a horror envisioner, his movies tend to be pretty horrific. If you guys ever seen Irreversible, that's definitely a very horrific movie to watch because of the brutal rape scene that's in the movie. And the brutal rape scene lasts for about like 2 to 3 minutes, and as an audience member, you're just sitting there stuck watching this scene. Now in Climax, I mean, we don't really get that much of crazy rape scenes like that, but we do get a lot of nightmarish shots, which what makes this movie very trippy and kind of creepy in a way because of how like they played with the colors and the shots and the use of the camera. You get a lot of like turns, and you get a lot like a little bit of ghoulish backgrounds with people dancing and everything, and you just see a lot of trippy shit happening. I mean, in this movie it's supposed to be a dance recital night of celebration gone bad, and in this night a lot of fucked up shit happens. You get like a brother and sister where the brother is trying to have sex with the sister and making sure she don't have sex with anybody else. You get like this couple of lesbians, you know, they break up with each other, and you get one who's like really into drugs, drugging everybody. It's a lot of complex stories that are in this movie, which makes it very interesting also because you just don't get like a simple story at all. You get this complex story that you just jumping in and out of. It could get a little bit dialogue heavy at first, but when you're in this whole nightmare of what's going on in like the dance hall, you have no other choice but just go like, what the fuck did I just watch? So yeah, I mean, it's definitely good. That's another movie that I liked. The Child's Play remake definitely is another one of those good movies. Just because of the modernized take that they took with this film and how they kind of pent how technology be kind of dangerous for humankind. I mean, I guess it's like the whole robots taking over everything type shit. Yeah, it was definitely a really good movie. It was definitely gory, which I liked, and it had great acting and chemistry with the actors in the film. And I told you one thing about this film is that if there was anything that was gonna be great in this film, it was going to be the acting. The acting was gonna be above and beyond over everything else, just because of like the characters that they cast in this film. Alright, so next film that is not really necessarily like a film per se, but is more of a documentary, is horror noir. And this is probably the one film that really made me want to get a Shudder account in the first place. It's because of this film. And in this film, it's a very inspirational film of great historical moments for black actors. And it cycles through like how black people were villainized in film as a scary antagonist to now being seen as protagonists. Now for me, as a black person myself, I really did enjoy seeing this film because seeing these scholars and filmmakers and actors talk about fucked up films like Birth of a Nation and all those other like coonery films after it, you know, it really does give you good insight. And if there's not anything I could say, like, if you don't get great insight from like past historical films about like how blacks are being presented in film in America, I believe this film simplifies it enough to where they're not beating a dead horse. And they really go into really good detail about like how black people managed to go from villains to heroes. You get what I'm saying? I mean, they have like Jordan Peele in there. They got damn, I can't remember names right now for some reason. It's a terrible day, people. It's too damn hot. Oh man, I swear. Next show, I'm gonna try not to be bad with this, but I've been really bad with names as of right now. But definitely check it out. Oh, they had Tony Todd. I remember now. They had Tony Todd in there, which is the original Candyman. Speaking of Candyman, I actually watched Candyman Farewell to Flesh, and that was a really good movie. I haven't seen the original yet. I'm trying to find a way to see that movie because I feel like that movie is not coming to stream at all anytime soon. But I'm going to try and find some type of way to watch it. When I was in Amoeba, I actually did try and look for Candyman, and the price they was talking about was too damn high. I was like, for one DVD, get the fuck out of here. $32, bro. Fuck out of here. Like, come on now, I could get this cheaper at Amazon. But yeah, definitely check out Horror Noir. If you guys have Shudder, check it out. If you have like Amazon Prime or any other device like Roku's or what have you, definitely try and like pair that up with your device. I believe they have it for Apple, also Apple TV. I know they don't have it for PlayStation, which kind of is a bummer for me because I watch a lot of my movies on my PlayStation, and that's where I usually like stream a lot of like the movies that I watch or the television shows that I watch. Yeah, I mean, just to see that Shudder hasn't really made an app for the PS4, but they have it for fucking Xbox, which I don't understand why. And for the last film that was good for 2019, this one is a little bit different. It's definitely a slasher movie. It's shot in a very 80s style, reminiscent of Dario Argento and some of the famous Italian directors of the 1980s back in the days, what have you. This movie is called Knife Plus Heart, and for me, when I was watching this movie, it took like a couple of days because I'm not used to watching movies of this type of genre. I mean, the only thing that comes close to it that I've watched that is from this type of genre is Brokeback Mountain. And even that is not really part of the LGBTQ type community movies. But Knife Plus Heart is definitely an LGBTQ type movie. That is a slasher film. And what it deals with is like guys who work in the gay sex industry. They're being brutally murdered by basically a maniac who wants to just see, I guess, a lot of gay guys dead. But what makes this movie interesting enough about it to where I did want to keep watching it was for the fact of not only just learning about the killer and his motivations, which is kind of like the underlying message that you get from learning about that community, is that in this movie is dealing with a guy who is not only trying to fight with his own sexuality, but he's also killing these guys because he feels like their lifestyle is immoral and wrong. But at the same time, I mean, he wants to be part of that community, but he can't really like come to terms with it. But what's also interesting from this film that is really good is definitely some of the camera angles and some of the shots that are being taken in this movie. One scene that I could think of that was really interesting is this one scene where like the killer killed this one transgender character in the movie, and the way it was shot, it was reminiscent almost like a Carrie film, like when they used to go around with the circling cameras, like the circling shots and what have you. It was like a circling shot in the rain, and the way the killer killed the transgender character is pretty much like you just see the killer kind of approaching almost slowly but surely each time the camera kind of pans off the character, and then the killer comes behind the character and stabs him in the back, and pretty much like in dramatic fashion, I mean, you have the rain just falling on top of them, and it's very shot in a very dreamlike fashion. Definitely the filtering of the movie is definitely, like I mentioned before, it has a very nice 80s styles look, so it's kind of reminiscent of the old school 80s movies of the Italian period. Just like how I thought about Terrifier, which I thought was more like an 80s style grindhouse film with the way it was shot and filtered out. The same thing can apply to Knife Plus Heart, and it's definitely a movie to watch. The story is definitely a very decent story to follow, especially besides finding out who the killer is. The violence in this movie is definitely very creative, grotesque, and almost perverse in a way sometimes by the killer, because the way he kills his victims is almost in the same way of kind of condemning his victims for being homosexual. But this is definitely a film to check out because you not only get like a story with trying to find out who the killer was, and I know I'm kind of repeating myself, but the main character in this story, who is this lesbian who had this relationship with her editor, and she's trying to find a way to get her back, and the way their relationship was ended tumultuously, something you're trying to see like them kind of like rekindle or trying to like rectify in a way. But anyway, those are the 5 movies you guys should check out if you have the chance to check out. Like I said, the last movie is kind of like a hard watch if you're not used to watching films in that kind of genre of community, but it's definitely something maybe you should give a try at least once. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. I mean, that's your choice. But anyway, we're going to take a quick break, and once we come back, we got the outro for you.
Wendy, darling, light of my life, I'm not gonna hurt you. You didn't let me finish my sentence. I said, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains in. I'm gonna bash them right the fuck in.
Alright, so we are back. We are here at the outro, and of course you guys know I always got like something to give you guys. So we got a meme of the week, and today's meme of the week is this picture that I found on Facebook, I believe, or it might have been Twitter. Twitter always has something savage to put up. I swear, Black Twitter always wins though. But anyway, it's a picture of this girl who's wearing like this whole Cheetos dress or whatever, and in the background you see this shadowy figure. So in the caption it says, "Yo, I think Freddy's in your house, sis." That one is definitely a knee slapper right there. And for the must-watch movie of the week is one of the Into the Dark series that I've been talking about, and I said it was very good earlier, but definitely watch Culture Shock. It's definitely very different from most of the other Into the Dark series movies that have been coming out, and this one kind of like really gives you insight about like, well, not really insight, but it gives you the whole idea about immigration and kind of like a whole world about like what immigrants have to go through to try and get to freedom, you know, to live in the United States and what have you. I thought it was very interesting just seeing this whole movie and how it played out with the characters, and just like seeing like how they kind of incorporated some of the American problems or like American media, like Donald Trump and his thoughts about immigration and what have you. It really kind of like brought into a whole world of perspective, not really perspective, but like a very intrigued interest about like what immigrants have to go through just to try and like get here and what have you. But that's definitely a movie to watch. It was definitely very eye-opening and what have you. But anyway, I'm out for the day. I'm gonna catch you guys next week. Yes, I will definitely be back next week. But anyway, it's your boy Walter Doom signing out with another episode of Let's Talk About Horror. If you guys want to follow me, you guys could follow me on Instagram. I'm trying to think about making a Twitter pretty soon. So if once I make that Twitter account, you guys can follow me on Twitter, get all my little insights. Maybe I'll post a couple of memes here and there that you guys can kind of screenshot and what have you. Maybe I'll title something meme of the week and you guys can kind of get that meme and use that for like your social media. But anyway, other than that, I'm signing out. It's your boy Walter Doom. Let's talk about horror. This is America. Don't let them catch you slipping now. Peace.